Here from Banjo's Beat House with our weekly Facebook Live video. And this week I decided to have something a little bit different and play with a large focal glass bead that you would have seen in the sneak peek that I've actually had for a couple of years now. I often, when I'm lucky enough to be able to travel, and right now should have been preparing to go to Melbourne, attend a couple of different events throughout the year where I can meet actual makers of different things, especially glass and resin and polymer clay and all sorts of beautiful pieces. There is groups like Handmade Alchemy where you can purchase them online as well, but it's always fun to see them in person. But this is a piece I bought from Angela from Gentry Glass a couple of years ago. I think I bought may have been my first expo, not too sure. It's a really beautiful piece of glass. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for joining us. It's been one of my favorites for quite a while, but I haven't actually worked out what I wanted to do with it yet. Often when I have, and this is another one of Angela's, a piece of glass, I'll actually wear it on the ball chain just around my neck, just to get a feel for it. So this is another piece of Angela's. This one still haven't worked out what I want to do exactly, but I'm enjoying wearing it just as a solo piece. For today, though, hi Kelly. For this one, I want to actually do something with a tassel. I'm enjoying the tactile feeling of wearing tassels at the moment. They're a great little fidget distraction. So I went through the tassel box this morning and found a beautiful dark purple tassel to go with it. And this afternoon I've been looking at, do I add any beads and how, or do I just leave it very simple? How do I treat it? How big is the hole? What can I work through? So I'm going to take you through some of that process with some of the pieces that I've pulled in and out all day, and just go through and then make my final piece. So it's a little bit of how I actually am coming up with things. What colorways am I putting together? So this is part, I guess, of the design process that I go through when I'm working with something as beautiful as this piece from Angela. So I'm going to tip you guys down and we will take a look. So just get you guys orientated to my view of the world. And whilst I remember, because I forgot to turn the lights on, I will do that now too. Just give me a minute. That's a bit better. So it's a bit more light. So you can see I've got my beautiful piece of glass. And I love this line of turquoise going through here. Yeah, Alex, they are gorgeous. It's one of the things I always love about the Melbourne Bead Expo is there's so many glass artists that you get to stare at. So this is the gorgeousness of just this lovely layer of aqua, but with the purple core, which is very much me. There's this gorgeous coppery accent, and then you've got these black dots all over it as well. So it's a really, really pretty piece of glass. And you don't really want to detract too much from it because it is a beautiful piece. So tassel was my first bet. This isn't the color I'm going with. This is the color, but I only had one. Then it's how do I anchor it? How do I attach it? So I'll take you through how I'm doing that. But then it was, do I add any other beads to this? What am I going to string it on? How do I go through this? So one of the first things, because I've been playing with pearls all day, putting kits together, is I've had a lot of pearls on my desk. So I thought, well, do I play a matte against it? Because a matte against a shine is often a fun way to go, just in order to see, to really make a a shine more, you put a matte next to it. But I decided, I thought that drew too much color away from this, so I decided to abandon my matte. I thought maybe do I drag out the coppery kind of dark tones, but I thought that overpowered it. Do I go with something a little bit lighter? And kind of didn't like that either. Went to play with the turquoise. Meh, I was on the fence about that one for quite a while. And then I had a look at some Swarovski crystal options. So I put, some aquamarine against it. I did pull the turquoise color down as well. Thought, do I bring in a rose gold? And when I'm looking at these, it's looking at a top and tail effect just to add to it, or do I look at a wire wrap around this with some of these beads featured in, but because of the beautiful black spotting and the lines in this, I decided I didn't want to wrap over the glass. It's actually got a nice small hole, which is a little hard to see. If I can make that focus. So it's actually not a humongous hole in that. So unlike this one, which has got a really nice big hole, it's doesn't really need to be covered. And I liked this nice little lip detail. So this is what's got me thinking that I might just wire wrap it and leave it fairly simple, and just have it work with my dark purple tassel instead, because this is a very me color. And I like the balance of bringing that color through from there, and it really to me is making that aqua line pop even more. So I started down the journey of, well, how am I going to wire wrap when I've got a tassel that's got a long cord on it? So, and that's why I have the other tassel for demonstration, I picked up my bead awl, and slowly, and I'm not going to do it to this one because this one's going back up for sale, but as you can see there, there's the thread line of the tassel that's going for the cord. So I threaded my awl through there, popped out the other side, ran that through quite a few times to create a nice big hole. Then I was able to pick up my 20 gauge wire and run it straight through. So I will be trimming this off at some point. I just need to glue seal it down, which I didn't do before, because I just want to still make sure that that knot is really, really tight and secure. So a little bit of hypo cement there and a trim. But I can do that post doing this. So I'm working, as I said, with 20 gauge wire. I've decided to use black rather than a silver or a gold, or a rose gold even, because it, to me, it just blends in seamlessly. And what I didn't want to do is detract. I really want this line here to be the focal. So with my wire through the middle, all I am doing is bending that up and crossing it over. Okay, so it's just working to create a little pocket. See, trimming those cords off in the first place would have been more helpful, but you know, we do these things. So I've got my wire about where I want it. I've got a nice little gap at the head because I don't want to squash this too much. So I'm going to grab a pair of my bent nose pliers, my trusty go-tos, and I'm actually going to hold it this way. Now, ordinarily, if I had thought about this in advance, I would have dipped these guys in Tool Magic so that I'm not potentially scratching my wire. Did not think about this in advance, and given that these are my day-to-day tools, yeah, we're going without it. But if you are doing a lot of wire work, that's something you could consider. So I've got this here so that this is out of my way as I'm now working, and we're actually going to grab another pair of pliers, although you can do it with your hands, and I'm going to start it with my fingers. And I'm just going to wrap that wire around, and I'm just creating just a nice spring-like effect. And then thing I forgot to grab was a pair of cutters, so I'm just going to set that up so it's looking towards the back. Now I will come back with my reamer and just give that a nice little burr, because it does have a bit of a cut. But you can see now I've anchored on my tassel. So it's just a little bit of jewelry wire to do that, just a little bit of an anchor. Now to work out what I need for the rest, it's just pulling that amount through and then taking a guess. So I always like to have more than what I think I'm going to need. Now this is where, again, I could have easily put a little seed bead, or I could put a little accent, but as I said, I actually just like the idea of it just being simple black and really just making the glass the absolute hero of this piece. So that's my choice in this, but you could easily drop a few beads in here, which I can show you for the effect. So these rose gold ones are half coat, so you get a lovely effect. So that would give you an idea. If you're going to add some beads to the length here, you could drop them in quite easily on the wire. It will elongate your piece. It's just something I'm choosing not to do for my particular design today. Get those guys out of the way. So I want that aqua at the bottom part of this. Now that hole is big enough that that's actually popped through. So it's actually going to hide my wire work here that's initially in place. Whereas if I go this way, the hole won't. So that is something that happens with glass, and that is why you often do put a little bead to act as a stopper, but I'm quite okay with that actually being absorbed in. So for the top here now, I'm just going to do a 90-degree bend, which I've done with my hands. and I'm picking up a pair of bail making pliers. Now you can do this with a pair of with a pair of round nose pliers if you like. I just prefer to have the bail making because I've got a nice column here rather than a cone, and then I'm going to get a consistent loop. So I'm just picking that up, twisting that around the bail there. So I believe this is the 2 and 4 mil size one. So I'm going to get a nice round bail here at the top, just working that back. I don't want to pull this too far in here as I'm working, and I don't really want to flatten my loop at the top here, and I'm also trying to avoid damage. So I've got my loop there that's going to appear at the top, and what I also want to do is I want to have that loop facing that way, but of course your bail loop you want facing the opposite direction because the cord's going to be running through here. So it's a good opportunity whilst you're still in this stage to try and get it set up the way you actually want it for when it's going to be a finished piece. And then again, I'm grabbing my pair of, sorry, I maneuvered that off camera, my bent chain nose pliers, just so I've got this working room and this is all out of the way. Now again, I could pick this up with another pair of pliers, this wire here, and wrap it around, but this is fairly soft wire and it's 20 gauge, so I can actually work with this with my fingers. And all I'm going to do is recreate that same wrap we had at the bottom, and I'm just going to add that at the top. And again, what I like about using the black wire for this is that it's drawing on this black lid here, and I'm not introducing another color that's not appearing in my piece. That was my other thing I didn't really want to do for the wire. I just want this to be a seamless float. So you can see there I've got it nice and secured. So it's just going to be a matter of, with my flush nose, getting in as close as I can. And again, I'll come in with my burr tool a little bit later and just soften that edge down. The reason why I'm not doing it on camera, it's battery operated and it's rather noisy, and I don't know where my handheld one is at the moment. So just going to flatten that down. Got my little loop there. And for me, I am just going to finish this off with a simple suede rope. So just grabbing the 3 mil faux suede, which of course is tangled and everything on my desk. Joys of having a messy desk. So for me, I am just going to run off, sorry, I'm measuring off camera. I'm going to guesstimate somewhere around the 80-ish centimeter mark. And again, I'm measuring off camera, I apologize. For me, that's a decent length to hang it and have that where I want it to go. And having just put that around my neck, I'm actually going to add another 5 centimeters to that length. So for me, I am now at about 85 centimeters to 90 centimeters. So it's about where you want it to sit and have it over your neck. I'm doing it as an over the neck so that I don't have to deal with a lobster clasp. Yeah, you can sit there and do it with thonging. You could do this with a beautiful silk ribbon, put onto leather, or if you feel so inclined with seed beads, you could actually stitch yourself a rope. I'm after something very, I guess, quick and simple, and I like the faux suede. So now with my faux suede threaded through, what I've done is made sure it is actually running through and is all lined up so I don't have a twist in my cord. And then I'm simply coming to the back, and as you can see, I've just layered one piece over the other, and I am picking up one of these leather crimps. So this is exactly like thonging, but it doesn't have the loop for you to connect onto a lobster with a jump ring. It's a little tricky, as you can see me dropping it, trying to get it through both pieces at once, but I'm determined. To make this work. Okay, it's determined not to let me. So you can instead slide through and slide through in an opposite direction and try to get that to stay in place. Always fun. Sorry, just making sure I am even again. always the finishing details that decide to be painful. So we're going to try another trick, which is just to set it up that way. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. You can sandwich one in. Often you can get the other one to sandwich itself in, and that worked that time. So there's a few little tricks up my sleeve when it comes to working with painful little things like this. So from there, it's a matter of grabbing, the easiest tool for this is a flat nose plier. So we've got our join there. I am going to tilt that around so that the join is actually on one side rather than actually where it slots in. And it's just a matter of squeezing that closed. So just like that, as you would flatten jewelry wire with a crimp, we've just flattened around that wire. Now for extra security or things like that, you could trim it, you could glue some E6000 in. Don't particularly feel the need to do that. I crimp these things down pretty hard, and when I've done this before, I haven't actually had an issue. But if you do find you do, a little bit of E6 joining your suede or a little bit of the even the Loctite gel would do it. I am doing a second one just as a little safety measure before I trim, and I do like to leave just a little bit of a gap in between that. So again, I'm just going to flatten or push together, and then I am going to flatten, and I want to keep that join roughly in the same spot. So that one curled round a little bit more, that one went more square. That happens. I can try and push this one around if I really wanted to make it a bit round. It's just a matter of working the sides there. So as you can see now, they're actually a little bit more consistent. Now you've got the choice, you can trim your ends or you can leave them. I'm actually going to trim them. For that, it's just my trusty Trojan scissors, just leaving a slight tail. And then all I need to do in order to be able to wear this is just, as I said, glue that off with just a little bit of hypo cement, trim away, and I'm done. So it doesn't take very long. Sometimes you've just got to sit with a piece. This is one of these pieces that, you know, once you've got it in your head exactly what you want to do, it doesn't take long to make it up. I know there's some beautiful wire workers out here who would have had more fun with doing a more intricate wrap. I like simple for stuff like this because I want this to be my hero. But when we do get to go out again, or if you come along to the BSV Virtual Expo, which is happening next month, you might find some glass artists selling some beautiful things that might be worth checking out and having a play with. So that's it for me for this week. Next week, Paul is actually going to be joining us for another Facebook Live and is going to be opening and playing with our Shades of Rose box. So that's our October inspiration box. It's all sorts of pinky rose goldy goodness. So she's been having some fun. I did share her video that showed some pieces from that this morning. But she's going to be walking you through how she actually made some of them. So it's a great chance to speak to her on live with how she actually interacts with that box and has some fun as well. So that will be on the cards for you guys for next week. But that's it for me for this week, and I will be back with you guys live in 2 weeks' time. Until then, stay safe and have fun creating. Bye for now.